Welcome to Borderless Minds podcast. My name is Jado. This is my friend,
Christian.
and we're looking to discuss more about the realities of an international student here in the US, talk more about what their studies entail, what when you go to school, how does that affect your work permit, how does that affect how long you're going to be in school, visa processes. We're hoping to have more guests here on this podcast to give us different perspectives in terms of what they went through on their own and what kind of advice they would give folks. And basically, we hope to provide some more information that we wish we knew before we came to the US. Uh, Hope to share some funny stories or otherwise, and of course, some gems. Again, my name is Jado. This is my friend Christian. What would you like to tell the folks about what to look forward to in this podcast?
Um, it's been a long coming conversation. Excuse me. Um, it's pretty much just sharing. You mentioned it all. You touched it all. It's just sharing information about the things we've learned here. It's about a life that is not often shown. It's just how people have a different expectation when you go outside your country, when you go abroad to study. There's a different expectation that doesn't meet the true realities. So we're here to share both the positive and the negative because there's definitely a struggle, and we're gonna focus on all. It's not just gonna. We're not trying to scare anybody. Just hey, the life here is always a struggle. There is a struggle, but there's also a positive side, and we want to discuss it all. And we want to give the true um, life, just in its own, like the podcast, the title, it just says realities of an international student. And we want to be real as we can. We want to share um, as much as we can information. Like you mentioned, we'll bring guests to give different perspectives. Like I'm a data analyst right now. I'm studying data analytics and artificial intelligence. And we always talk about information is key. And that's what we're
Yeah.
trying to provide to everyone. That way you can make informed decisions on whatever you're about to
Okay.
do, because you will meet a life here. It's gonna be a journey for you, and as we grow, we realize that just life is a series of choice, and how
Mhm.
can you make that choice if you don't have the right information? And that's why we're here.
Hey, that's a perfect segue in terms of my first question is how long have you been here? And you touched a little bit about what you currently do, but give us more information about how long you've been here and what you currently do in your role, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I've been here for 12 years now. I came in 2012, graduated in 2016 as a computer science major. I'm now a quality assurance lead in the software department, so the software engineering, software development. I've been doing that for 8 years now, but on my resume it's always 10 plus. 10 plus years. That way it sounds better and it gives better interview possibilities because, well, 10 plus is better than 8.
That's a
Uh,
gem right there. That's a gem.
oh, yeah, we'll even share the tips about how to make your resume more appealing to the employers because, well, that's the first thing they judge before they even meet you.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I'm a quality assurance lead, been doing that for 8 years specifically. And I'm also doing my master's in data analytics and artificial intelligence. Um, yeah, don't
Such an
make that face.
such an overachiever.
Don't
Um,
make that face.
did you
It's not
always
that.
want to do computer science like when you first came here? So I'm jumping straight into your journey. Like, did you always want to do computer science? Was it always like on your mind to do, or did you just?
No. I even still remember now when I was faced with um, what I wanted to do, like the decision to say to put on your application, like what do you want to study? Because at 18 years old, you don't know anything, and it's like, oh my god, this is the biggest decision in my life, and at that time it was because what I had to choose, whatever I was about to choose, was going to determine who I was going to become in life. But I feel like that question should have been phrased differently. It's hey, what do you like now? Because you don't know who you are at 18 years old. It's kind of hard to choose what do you want to become for the rest of your life. It's like at 18 years old, I want to be this. I always admire people who know at a younger age, but I didn't for me. And
Sometimes you think you know.
that's another thing because once you meet with the reality of what it is, then it's like, oh my god, I didn't think this through.
Mhm.
But for me, I had no idea what I wanted to become. My parents helped me. I had a big influence from them. I came as engineering major. I
Okay.
wanted to be an architect. I thought I wanted to be a civil engineer. I thought I was still debating on which one to choose, but I came declared as a general engineering.
Where did you go to school?
Wheeling, West Virginia. Don't ask me how I ended up there.
Okay. That.
But I was there. But yeah, I didn't know. But we'll talk more about how I changed because it was on my second year. But before I talk more, I want to know also, can you
Excuse
also
me.
tell us about your
Yes,
journey? How did you choose your major?
I have been in the U.S. for 10 years now.
Oh, I even
Um,
forgot to even ask you how long.
10 years.
See, this is why you're a moderator because I don't always remember
That's
all
why
the
I have the
questions.
notes and you don't.
All right,
So
man. All right, go
it
ahead.
kept me on track.
Keeps
You
you on
know,
track.
it's
Okay,
much more
so
fair.
appreciate for being
Uh,
nice to me.
but I have been in the U.S. for 10 years. I came in 2014. I already knew what I wanted to go to school for. Even like back home, we from both of us are from Rwanda,
Yeah, yeah,
and the education system is a little bit more different. I grew up in a biology, chemistry, mathematics
yeah,
background in high
yeah.
school, so I always knew I wanted to do something medicine. It was always medicine,
Mm-hmm.
and parents also, specifically my mom, she was always like, "Hey, I would like to have one of my kids to be a doctor." So,
Mm-hmm.
hey, and I happened to be good in school. So I was like, okay, maybe let's just
Yeah.
try this path. And then I kept doing
What
good.
does good in school mean?
I was always like, uh, how would I say, top in the
Straight A's?
99th percentile,
Oh,
90th percentile. So
yes.
like, I did really good. They were always like, oh, this is the smart kid in the family and everything.
Nice. All right.
But so I was like, okay, medicine should be a thing. So and then I had a chance, which is always like a privilege. Not everybody gets a chance to come go study abroad for four
Yes.
years. We're gonna discuss how costly it can be. Uh, but it's very, very financially burdensome,
Yes.
especially like for parents who send their kids away to study in the US.
Mm-hmm.
So once I got a chance to come to the US, I was like, okay, we're doing anything that had biological sciences. I knew I was gonna do pre-med.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I went to Northwestern Oklahoma State University. It's like a small school in the middle of Oklahoma,
Mm-hmm.
about 5,000 people, a small town,
Yeah.
the whole town. And I did my 4 year degree. I ended up being a biology major, chemistry minor is how I
Mm-hmm.
started out. I didn't need to switch anything.
Mm-hmm.
I just saw everything through, and we're gonna get more in detail in terms of like what changed throughout the whole path and not becoming a doctor.
Exactly. Yeah, because
Um,
what are you doing now?
I'm currently in clinical research field,
So you
so
graduated in
I graduated in 2018
mm-hmm.
with a biology and chemistry degree,
Mm-hmm.
and I ended up doing like I'm still in the medical research field,
Yep.
but not like medicine,
Yeah.
and that had to do with some things that I never considered before coming here,
Yeah.
like finances in
Yes.
terms of medical school.
Mm-hmm.
It is expensive.
Very.
At the time when I was looking to go to medical school, it was costing approximately, give or take, 80 to 100,000 dollars
For how
cost of
long?
attendance.
For how long?
That's for a year, and then you multiply that by four.
So it's
So for
4 years of
4 years
medical.
of medical school
Mm-hmm.
plus residency, which is like
Mm-hmm.
a job, so you don't pay for that, but you already have that debt.
Yeah.
But those are some of the things. It was still a dream. Like I want to be a doctor.
Yeah.
That's always what. Like, oh, I want to be a doctor.
Yeah.
I had personal statements. Everything that I did was geared towards being a
Mm-hmm.
doctor. But
Can you
I'm not.
tell? Can you tell to the audience at what point did you realize all that and say, okay, I'm gonna pause because I still think you want to pursue that, but maybe not now.
Yes, that's correct. I did not want to keep pursuing it because I mentioned financial burden.
Financial. Hmm.
So as an international student, some of the realities as an international student, I could not apply to state funded or public universities for medical school.
Hmm.
Those tend to be much cheaper
Hmm.
than private universities. That means it's probably like twice as expensive to go to those. Also, another thing, as an international student, you cannot get federal student loans.
Hmm.
So you have to get private loans.
Hmm.
With those, you have to get a co-signer, somebody who's a permanent resident. That means somebody who has a green card or a U.S. citizen
Hmm.
as a guarantor in case
Hmm.
you are not able to pay or you leave the country. That becomes the responsibility of your co-signer.
Right.
That's a huge responsibility
Responsibility
to put on somebody.
to whoever.
So
Yeah.
they have to know you. Like
Yeah.
they pretty much have to be like family. That way they can find you anywhere.
Yeah.
So like that was another thing. So then like I started looking into medical school. Till my after graduation, I was still like wanting to go to medical
Focused in the
school.
medical school. Yeah.
I even did the MCAT, the medical college admissions
Hmm.
test,
Hmm.
and I was, which also costs.
Hmm.
I was like, okay, let me see how I do, and then we go from there. I was like, okay, maybe I may get some scholarships, but even then, that financial money
Burden. Yeah.
issue was like, how am I gonna get this money?
Hmm.
Because most of the schools that I was looking at, I looked at, into Harvard.
80,000.
I
Yeah.
looked into Harvard because like
Man,
I
you
wanted.
wanted to go to Harvard.
It sounded good. It sounded good to go to medical school at Harvard,
To Harvard.
but like those are some of the private universities that I could apply to. And Harvard, I think I can't remember if it was Duke as well.
Hmm.
That some of their requirements, if
Yeah.
you get accepted as a medical student,
Hmm.
you have to have a year or 2 years worth of tuition
Hmm.
in an account that you
Oh my
cannot
God.
withdraw money
So
from.
that was what
So
160 that you had
160,000
to
that you have to
have.
set aside. That so I'm like, where am I gonna get that money unless I can secure a private loan and I have to get somebody to co-sign that loan.
To that loan,
So
and you still have to pay after you graduate.
yeah. So and then so it just kept being a thing. I was like, you know what? Maybe that's something I can do just later in life because school is always going to be here.
True.
But maybe pursue something else.
I have
So
a question now.
uh-huh.
With you mentioned that your parents were your mom specifically was one that was pushing you to be a doctor. Is she? What did she say when you paused on that, or does it even matter now? Because I feel like you're living a pretty good or decent life, I should say,
I'm
with what you're doing, and you've been doing it for how long too?
6 years now. I graduated in
6 years.
2018, so yeah,
Hmm.
it's about 6 years now.
Hmm.
But I mean, they're always gonna be a little bit sad, to say the least. Like, hey, he
The
doesn't want
least.
to do like. I feel like I don't want to speak for the whole continent of Africa, but
Yeah.
like the more schools, the more school you attend, the more degrees you have. It's more like a badge of honor.
Yes.
So like, oh, he has like 3, 4, 5 degrees.
Yeah.
So then if you decide like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, they're like, oh man, maybe consider this. Consider don't
Yeah.
put it on a back burner. Just consider going for a master's degree and everything. So like, they were a little bit disappointed, but I'm like, at a certain point, yes, you may make them happy, but like, you have to wear that responsibility of paying that back and everything.
Yeah.
So now they come to terms with it,
With it. You're an
but
adult now.
yeah, because you have to be willing to live with those with the decisions that
Yeah,
you
it's your
make.
own decision.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I mean, she's cool now. She's like accepted it. She still wants me to do, like
Let's continue.
be like you, take like 3 master's degrees. But we gotta get to the reasons why you have to keep going to school
to be able
to keep your status in the
Yeah.
U.S.
Yeah.
But in terms of transitioning from college to the workforce,
Yeah.
did you already know what you wanted to do
No.
once
No.
you graduated, or like we're like, hey, I'm gonna go into the workforce and see who gives me a job, or
Oh yeah, for that, yes, because the deal with my parents, I made a deal before leaving Rwanda, like just most of the students actually, just like actually most of the people that I know. You make a deal with your parents, and my deal was, I'll get into deeper into some of the things because there was also a basketball scholarship, a basketball
oh,
career that I thought I was gonna pursue because my dream was the NBA. So, but my parents, we had a deal where I have 4 years in America, 4 years in the US that they're gonna pay for. I was lucky. My mom did accounting, when she was in college. That was her major, so she was a little bit more. Her business acumen was very high, so she started saving for our college. When we were kids, she started college fund for us. Um, so she was like, "Hey, your money is only 4 years. This is just how much I can afford. After 4 years, you're on your own." That was the deal. And the other deal with my dad was, you choose something I want.
Okay.
Well, not what he wants, but he could see. You mentioned about how parents see you as a pride and joy when you're doing something that is honorable or
Yeah.
something that is, like
More socially acceptable, more
thank you.
socially,
Yes, back home because
yes, mostly.
now it's changing. I
Yes.
think now anything you want to do, parents are supportive. But back then, for us, it had to be something big, and that big
Hmm.
means engineering. It means law school. It
Yep.
means a doctor for you.
Hmm.
So my dad wanted me to be a civil engineer. He wanted me to go to school for that. And the deal was, yes, you choose this major, and you can continue your basketball career. That's pretty much, as long as you can play, like, do this major. And that's what I started with. And in those 4 years, yes, I definitely knew that if I wanted to do my masters, and my mom wanted me to do for my wanted me to go for my masters, like you say, you have to have many degrees for them to feel like, hey, my child is doing this, my child accomplished this,
He's
because
educated.
educated, yes, education is back home is very seen as a high status
Hmm.
type of person
Yeah.
if you have this many degrees or if you went to school for this. But that was back then.
So
Um,
you have
what?
four now.
No, no,
Shit.
no. I'll get deeper into the
Feel
details
bad
of.
for
I
the
have
siblings.
three. I have three masters. I'm finishing my last one. But before I get to my masters, I want to finish the story about changing my major, because one of the things that even worried my parents was, is this gonna affect what year you graduate? So I'm coming here as civil engineer. I have a deal. I have a contract signed, and you can't go. I can't break that contract with my mom. My mom is probably the toughest person I've ever met, and if she says something, it goes. So I knew I couldn't break that contract. Second year of college, I'm doing physics, and I see how hard it was. Like you say, you hit the reality, you see everything that goes into what you're
Hmm.
pursuing. Then you're like, oh my god, I don't think I thought this through,
Yeah.
because I never liked physics. And I just knew it
Nah.
was, I liked
That.
math. Math was my thing, even up to now. Even that's why I'm even doing my master's
If
in
I
data
may correct,
analytics.
we went to school together since '07. This guy was good in physics.
That
Just
was
just
just
put it out there.
the how is it? Tonko man, what's that in English? That's low
Uh,
level, how do you say it? It was
that would be probably like
grade
uh,
seven to grade
so
grade
like
nine,
junior high.
junior high. Yeah, that didn't mean anything. That was the easiest thing. But once you go on the in high school, like the last few years of physics, man, it was tough. So for me, physics, and I knew that for some reason, but to me, it was, I was just focused on going to US and pursuing
Okay.
what I wanted, which was an MBA career.
Okay. So you mentioned a few things. I would like to dive more into. So you mentioned like a basketball scholarship.
Yeah.
Uh, were there any other scholarship that you were on before
Yes.
coming here?
Yes.
And
Yes.
how, if you feel comfortable, how much of a scholarship? Like, is it a percentage? Like, okay, we're gonna take off
Yeah.
10% of your
Hmm.
tuition. Like,
Yeah.
what was it?
So the school was, I think, 27,000 a semester.
Damn.
But immediately once you are accepted, you get a international student scholarship. That was an immediate thing. Immediately
And
once you get
like, how much of
accepted,
it was
it was a 5,000 immediately that gets taken
off?
off.
Okay.
Um, and then depending on your grades, and I think there were like, if you did other activities, you were in social
Extracurricular activities,
extracurricular activities, then you get
additional
another
scholarships.
additional scholarship. And it also depends on the time you apply.
Oh,
We'll
okay.
get deep into the process of who helped me with the process of applying, because that's what helped me get a big scholarship, because I ended up paying 10,000
A
out of
semester.
27 a semester. Yes, a semester. So if
Wow.
it's 2 semesters,
It's
it
about
was
20.
20 grand.
And did that include like living expenses,
Yes,
or
that
was it
had including expenses with the 10K for a semester. You had room and board, and you had also food,
like food,
cafeteria.
cafeteria
But
food?
we'll get into the life of where it's during holidays and the cafeteria is closed, and you have to find the food,
You
because
gotta
that was
cook.
another struggle, man. Because we had to wake up at we had to try to sleep late so we can wake up late so we can only eat once or twice a day because we could not afford. But
So
that's a different
yeah,
story
I
that
want to
we'll
get
get
back to the.
deeper into
So
that.
you mentioned like, oh, you came on a basketball scholarship and
That's
additional
no
scholarships.
basketball. I didn't come on the basketball
Did
scholarship.
you walk on onto the team?
Huh?
Did you walk onto the team?
Yes, I worked on it with the team, and I even worked out with the team for 2 years.
But
But
did you
I was
walk
trying.
onto the team? So like, did you already have a scholarship before you
No,
came
I
to the
didn't.
US?
I was trying to get that
Oh, okay,
because
gotcha.
there's two ways to get a scholarship. You can get there, and the first year, of course, everything is gonna be full payment. But then you can work on getting a scholarship with the team. That was my plan. It
Okay.
didn't work out that way, but that's what I wanted. That's what I thought I was gonna get, because if you play on the team, then you can get a student athlete scholarship.
Okay.
If you gain more grades, you can even apply for a different scholarship that they can give you at a reduction. But no, I did not come on a basketball scholarship. I was just like, I'm gonna get it here. I'm gonna play. I'm gonna show myself. I'm just gonna. That was my whole plan,
And
but
were you
it
able
didn't work
to?
out.
Sorry to interrupt. Were you able to finish within the time frame that you wanted originally,
Yes.
or no?
So because I was a general engineering, the first classes that they give me, because the you have they give you how do you call it, a professor, like a, it's not a
An
mentor,
advisor?
advisor. Thank
Oh,
you. Yes, they give you an advisor that is gonna sit with you. I knew I was gonna do the general engineering, so and they're like, are you sure? Is it something? Then they can guide you through the classes that you're going to get, because there are some classes that
hmm,
come once every semester. There are
yeah,
classes that only come once a year
on rotation.
on rotation, and they're going to advise you better on the timing that you want to graduate. That way you can do it in 4 years. And so the good thing is I really had a good advisor. So he helped me choose the core classes and some of the few classes that were like, yeah, like physics one. Yeah, you're still gonna need that
Mhm.
as long as you're in engineering. So I did that. I did a few physics in the first year,
Okay.
and then the core classes were the main thing instead of just going in deeper into the major, and
Hmm.
that's exactly what I did. So in my second year, that's when I realized that I was not gonna continue with the civil engineering,
Okay.
and things got real. I wasn't sure what to pick, and we used to talk with my parents every Sunday, and we still do. It's a ritual. Every Sunday, everybody gets on FaceTime and we speak to the parents. It's something that we started in college, and now that my siblings, my brother is here, and then my also sister, younger sister, is also abroad in Germany. So every Sunday, everybody gets on FaceTime. So it's
Family
something.
thing.
It's a family thing. It's a Sunday ritual. We always gotta talk with my family. So it was on a Sunday. It was right after I did my final exam of physics, and I was like, I don't think I can do another physics. Like I cannot pursue this because, first of all, I don't really enjoy physics. So it was like, okay, I called my mom, we talked, and she realized immediately within the tone of my voice, was like, what's going on? It's like, I don't think I can do this. Like, what do you mean you can't do this? It's like, hey, mom, I don't think I can continue with this major because I don't know. I don't like physics. And then my dad said right away, because we speak and they're all there,
Hmm.
FaceTime, everybody's on video. Actually, at the time, it wasn't a video. It was before WhatsApp had a video.
That was way back
That
then.
was way back. It was in
Probably 20,
2013.
2013, 2014,
2013,
probably.
2014. It was before the video. So my dad, it's always on speaker. So my dad was like, "What are you trying to? Why are you like leaving
Trying to
this
switch
major?
up.
What are you trying to switch? Like, why? What's going on?" I'm like, "It's hard." And then my dad is like, even up to now, something he say, "So is life," and he was right.
A bar.
You can't just quit because it's hard.
Uh-huh.
But it wasn't just because it was hard. It was also because I had no interest in doing physics.
Yeah.
So I guess that's also something that
You didn't
was
enjoy it.
preventing me. Yes, I did not enjoy it. So it was preventing me from putting more effort into studying.
Yeah.
And then my mom, because my dad was like starting to get angry because I was about to break the contract that we had. So my mom took the phone away. She realized I was serious because the tone of my voice was different than when we normally speak. Um, so she took the phone away and she's like, okay, so what are you gonna do? Like she started being, and this is when the relationship of my parents and me changed because it was no longer, hey, I want you to do this. It was now, okay, what do you think? What's going to be there? And it has evolved even since then. Now that I'm an adult, it's always like, yeah, I give you my opinion. You don't have to take
But
it
you
if you
get to
don't want.
decide.
You can, yeah, you get to decide. You get to make that choice for yourself. You're an adult now. And that's why we trying to provide all this information. That way you can make also that choice that works for you. So my mom was like, what are you going to do now? And I was speechless. I didn't know. All I knew at
So
that
I want to
time
go
was just
home.
pretty much. He was like, okay, I'm defeated. He's like, I don't know. And then my mom was like, what do you do? What about just doing something in computer? You were always good with computers. And what she meant is something's wrong with the computer. Turn it off, turn it back on, and it's working. It's pretty much that. But I eventually just switched. It had like again because it was a general engineering, computer science wasn't really that different. So I didn't change much. I didn't. It didn't add more years for me to finish. The classes were still core classes. So I was able to finish on time, 4 years. I was able to apply myself. But even with computer, I didn't know what I wanted to become because computer science is a general thing as well.
Mhm.
There is once you get into the working force, that's when you realize just how specific a job has
So
to
many
be.
layers.
There's so many layers. There's being a front end developer, there's being a back end developer, there's being a database admin, there's being a project manager. You can also have a degree in project management, but if you even go to computer science, you can also be a project manager within the IT field. You can be a product owner, you can be a QA, which is who I am now. That's what I do. You can also be there's Scrum Master, but
Those are
there's many
those are
things
new
that you
words for
don't.
me.
We'll get deeper into that as we get into the graduation and how you prepare for the job that you're looking for, and some of the things you can apply. But I didn't know back then. All I did is computer science, and somehow you end up in QA, and that's what I'm doing. I've been doing it for 8 years, and like I said, it's a series of choice, and those choices have opened different opportunities that I didn't know were there. It was just a matter of walking the path and then just figuring it out. And that's what I've been doing.
Going with the flow.
Going with the flow. I'm a
Man.
control freak. That's one thing I have to mention. So it's been very hard for me to go with the flow. And that's what I'm learning as I'm getting in.
So not knowing what's gonna happen
Not
tomorrow.
know, it's very hard for me to accept that I don't know or I can't control it. But with life, man, there's so many things you can't control. There's a lot of things that are outside of your control. So you have to put yourself into, I'm comfortable with this. This is how much I can do. Everything else, okay,
Control what
you
you
have
can
to
control,
accept it.
and then
Yeah.
everything else is up.
So it's
Okay.
hard. You learn the hard way or you accept it. But
So if I may ask,
yeah,
before I transition to my side of the stories, like what made you choose your school?
my school.
Yeah. Like,
Oh,
was there any specific thing going on why you chose your school? Because I mean, it sounds like it was a little bit pricey.
It was. Yes, it was because I want to hear yours. Because
Yeah,
I
because
know,
I'm
but
asking
I
you
want you
because I
to.
went to my school because of the price. That was the only.
That was the main thing.
That was
Yeah.
the main and only thing.
No, I had two acceptance for me. It was one in Texas and one in West Virginia, Willing Jesuit University. One in Texas, I chose again. I chose for two. It wasn't stupid at the time, but the more I think, I mean, actually, no, it wasn't stupid at all. It was what I knew then. So I chose Wheeling, West Virginia because first, I wanted to experience snow. I wanted to see
Bruh.
snow for the first
So
time.
you knew Texas didn't have snow at the time?
Yes, it
Hey.
was it was always hot. That's something
At least
that
you
I was
knew.
going.
Shoot.
Wait, you didn't know about Texas?
Man, I didn't care about nothing about snow. I
No,
was because you mentioned like your parents planned out like for your college
yeah,
funds,
yeah.
but
It was what they could afford. But so it was between the one in Texas was definitely cheaper. But yes, like I said, because of the weather. I wanted to experience snow, and trust me, I regret it now. Well, I don't regret it because it got me here, but snow is not something. It's pretty for the first
From
time
the
when
inside when you're
from the
looking
inside. Well,
outside.
yes, when you're looking outside, it's nice. But man, after that, like those 6 months, like when it starts, especially it gets colder. It starts getting cold around September
Mhm.
into May. You still have that, but then the real winter starts in December. Man, when you see that snow, January and February are the worst,
Mm.
and you feel like it's taking forever. It doesn't want to end. And so the first thing was just to be able to see snow. I've seen enough, I think. And the
uh,
second thing was the school in West Virginia, in Wheeling, West Virginia, was D2 basketball, Division
okay,
two basketball.
classification, yeah.
Yeah, compared to the one in Texas was Division three. And like I
Okay,
said, everything for me was basketball, and I thought I was gonna be the next Chris
fair enough.
Paul. So that's
uh,
why I chose my school. And
like
my
five
mom
nine
agreed.
guard from Wheeling Jesuit
Yeah, yeah, I
University.
have a video, man. I thought I was gonna make it, but man,
Uh,
we'll get deeper into the details about being a
yeah,
student and
so
athlete. But yeah, tell
I
me
did
your
ask you
story.
about like what made you choose. For me, I said it
Yeah,
was all about price. So
price.
you mentioned like whatever you were paying per semester, I was paying per year.
10,000.
Yeah. So
How?
like I think the first year I paid like
Mm-hmm.
13.5 for the first year, like $13,300
Yeah.
for the first year, and then it got cheaper afterwards.
Ooh.
And we didn't get charged by credit. Like no, we got charged by credit, not because I know some schools like whatever you pay is a fixed amount, and then you can take 12 or 15 hours. For,
Yes, yes,
for
same.
us, we
That's for
got charged
us.
by credit. If you took 12 hours, you
You pay
paid
12.
less.
Oh, you pay
You
less.
paid less. If you took 15 hours, you paid less money in tuition.
Oh.
And but it was like 10,000, like 13,000. That was like a bargain. That included like being in the dorms, cafeteria meals, and all that. So like
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay,
You
as
can
long
afford
as
it.
it's affordable for my parents because they have to foot the bill.
Yeah.
Then I was like, okay, anything else I can adjust to.
So it was based on the price. You're a
Main
good
and
kid,
only
man. You're a
like
good kid. You
because
looked
like
out for your parents.
because I think I had gotten another admission for another school in South Dakota,
Mm-hmm.
and it was about 9,000 a semester or 9,500 a semester.
That's cheaper.
A semester,
Oh, a
not a
semester,
year.
not a
So it would
year.
have been close to like 20 grand a year.
So close to what I was paying.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was like,
No.
mm-mm. And my school had like something about like if you got a 3.7 GPA,
Mm-hmm.
you will get like 90% knocked off from for the out of state tuition.
And that's how.
And so I was like, okay, they have more scholarships. I didn't quite understand how that 90% would work, but I assumed
You
like
would
I would pay
determine.
even way less. I thought it was like 90% off of the whole tuition. So I was like, oh, my parents are gonna be paying nothing
Yeah.
by the time like by the second year. So I was like, focus on your
on.
school studies that way you can get that 90% off.
So what was your GPA?
So I was like a straight A student.
Graduated. No, no.
I,
Tell the whole story.
no, no,
Tell the whole story.
I was a straight A student because I wanted to make sure like get a 3.7 GPA, knock off all of that money. Then second year turned out it wasn't the whole 90%.
Yeah.
I still paid about
But
10 grand.
you're still touching just a little bit about your GPA. It's not 3.7. Straight A, yes.
I said at least a 3.7.
Okay, so what was your GPA?
I said I was a straight A student.
You don't want to. You just give the whole story, man. It's
I
nothing
was a
to be
straight A
embarrassed
student.
about.
That's all I
Straight
said.
A's. Just say the GPA.
I don't know. Somebody figured it out.
4.0. I have to say for the audience. This guy graduated for 4 years, like year one. And actually, no, semester one.
I was a man
on
a mission.
Huh?
I was a man on a mission.
It wasn't.
There was no failing the parents.
I'm here to be a doctor.
There was no disappointing the parents. Like, hey, do what you can to lower that tuition.
4.0, man. 4.0 GPA. That means A from the beginning, from 20. What?
I'll put it this way. Once I got an A in English, there was nothing I can get an A in English. If I can get an A in English, essays and everything, which was my third language at the time, I was like, anything else was possible. Literally, that's why I said, if I can get an A in English and write essays that I've never done,
yeah.
Chemistry. We grew up doing chemistry, physics in high school.
Oh yeah, the system. So like, yeah.
Even though it was like a whole different language, but math is math for me.
Math is math, yeah.
So like it was like if I can get an A in like something I've never done before, I can get an A in anything else. That was the approach. But so I get there, and yeah, 10 grand. I'm like, okay, do whatever you can. So being involved in extracurricular activities.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like would help get like some clubs would offer like some scholarships to some of their
Yeah.
students.
Yeah. Were you part of any club?
Oh man, that was my way of like to get to. I was the only Rwandan on my campus, so for me to like get exposed to as many things as possible, I had to get involved in clubs.
Yeah.
And to be able to like break that language barrier.
Yeah.
It has its
Yeah.
positives and negatives. Being the only Rwandan, like you would wish to have somebody who's Rwandan who's been in the system,
Yeah.
to kind of transition you into
Guide
like how
you.
everything works.
Yeah.
On the other side, on the flip side, or silver lining is if you don't have anybody there, then you're forced to actually like learn without any holdbacks.
Doing it on your
So
own.
and then you just launched like chemistry clubs and international students clubs, and I would just get involved. Like everything was new, and so like that's how we ended up turning out. I chose that school. It was good for staying focused because it was like in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So it was like 3 hours away from Oklahoma City, bruh.
Well, how close was the airport?
I had to fly from Kansas, 2 hours away. So like you had to get somebody to like drive you 2 hours, and then they have to be willing to drive back 2 hours. Yeah. So man, it was like, woo.
I can't wait to hear more about your student life once you got there.
Yeah, but basically we did I graduated in 4 years. I came in 2014, finished in 2018. Of course, I switched halfway through. I didn't switch really, but I added like a chemistry major because I thought, again, it would look better on my resume to apply to medical school with 2 degrees.
Everything was
geared towards having a better application for my medical school. But then I graduated, and then I had to get a job, and we're gonna get into that in terms of work permits. And but before that, before we dive into like the work permits, there's also some work permits that can allow you to work while you're in school. That one is called the CPT, Curriculum Practical Training, I believe. And it's a work permit that has to complement what you're doing in class.
Yep.
As an international student, you cannot work outside of your campus.
Yes.
You can only do jobs on campus, which paid minimum wage, at least on my end.
Yeah. Yeah. It was still money though.
And you limit it to hours. 15 hours a week.
I think it keeps changing every year.
At least when I was in college, it was 15 hours. I could not work more than 15 hours a week.
That's during
minimum
school.
Wage.
That's during school.
Yes.
And then during holidays, you are allowed to go, I think, 40.
40, but the only thing that could just do that was maintenance. That was the only thing that could provide.
Oh yeah, I cleaned the houses, man. I cleaned dorms in some of the holidays to be able to afford.
So the CPT, let's say I was a biology major. Whatever you do, like let's say you get an internship somewhere for research, it has to complement what you're doing in school. That way,
you have to justify
exactly
why you get it, because that's what I'm using to be able to study and work. I have the school, first of all. So the good thing is it's the school that provides it. It doesn't go to UCIS. It's the school that provides it. But when you're applying for longer, like how do you say it? For the OPT eventually, that's when UCIS gets involved. And I know a few people that got denied because apparently that was not related.
And OPT stands for Optional Practical Training, which is like a work permit for after graduation.
So CPTs, whenever you're still in school, you still have some restrictions. You have to go with your major. Even OPT, by the way, if you graduate, you can only work in your own field. And these are the restrictions that we had no idea. You can't go while you're waiting for a job. You can't go do something small. You can't go be a waiter at a restaurant. Nope. Or you can't do Uber because those restrictions are going to apply and you might get deported because
legit.
It happens a lot. People who like, oh yeah, I just need something small to be able to make ends meet, like while I'm waiting for a job. But once UCIS gets involved, that's it. Your visa can get canceled, your F1 can get canceled, and that's the struggle. That these are some of the stories we're gonna bring, and this is some of the struggles that are not shown or that are not known to many people whenever you get here. And that's the reality that actually is here.
They may see like, he's in the US. Because like they have a whole different perspective than we do.
Thank you.
Yes. They will say, hey, you in the US. I mean, we grew up with that same mindset as well. Anytime you see somebody abroad, you think, automatically they got money. But
Yes.
you don't understand. Like Uncle Sam has to take
What? Oh,
his
don't
cut.
even mention the
Um,
taxes.
but also like knowing a few things like, okay, how do I get a social security number?
Oh
I
my
have to get a
gosh,
job
yes.
first. I have to get a letter that's proving that I have a job,
Yes.
and then
Mhm.
go to the office, get a social security, and then you can be able to. And that social security has like a note on it, like
Say,
it has restrictions. You
yes.
cannot work
Yeah.
any other job. It has to
You
be.
just you just reminded me that even into the whole program that we have that we have planned for this podcast, that we have to include that, like
Yeah,
specifically what are the documents that you need when you get here and how to get them,
and the
because social
cost,
security and what.
the cost,
Oh yes, yes.
because them
Everything is
things be
about money
costing.
here. Everything here you have to pay, because Social Security is one thing, ID or driver
Driver's
license,
license.
driver's license. Oh my god, I'm losing
Mhm.
my words. So driver's license is another one, and there is another. I think that's it. I think those two should
I
be
just have to get
majorly.
one because I didn't want to carry my passport everywhere.
Okay, yes, yeah, driver's license, yes,
Yes.
and how to get them. So we will have to do one episode on some of the things that you need immediately when you get here and how
Hmm.
to get them. Because social security is a big thing, especially when you're about to start working either within your school or when you want to have an internship outside and get that CPT. Because, like I said, I actually forgot to finish that. So the CPT you get it from the school, and you have to justify why you need it, and the hours they have to continue to check your hours during school. You can't go over 20 hours. Yeah,
Oh,
during when the same thing actually, you can go within more than 20 hours a week.
dang.
And then when it's during vacation, it's now 40 hours, like during the holidays. Because I was working as how do you call it? Or maybe I'm getting it
Nah, I
wrong. It
think
looks like you
you can do uh even 40 hours a week.
during school.
Yes,
Oh,
but you cannot use that CPT for more than
oh, more
12
than 12
months.
months. There you go.
If
There you go.
you have to use less than 12 months.
12 months.
Usually people recommend just use it for 11 months
Yeah,
because once it comes to graduation
yeah.
and you apply for your OPT,
Hmm.
if you use your CPT
More than
for
that.
12 months or more, you will get declined for
Yes.
your OPT.
Yeah.
And we did both like in the STEM majors. We did
Yes.
uh,
Computer
in
science.
computer science. I was biology major, so
Hmm.
in the STEM,
What's
that
STEM?
also
Can you define
science,
STEM?
technology, engineering,
Hmm.
and mathematics.
Hmm.
That affects the length of your work permit, the OPT that we're talking about.
True.
You always get 1 year. Everybody gets 1 year.
Hmm.
I mean, you may get if you did CPT more than 12 months,
You're
then
not gonna get
you're
anything.
not gonna get it. But if you do get that 1 year,
Yeah.
you still have to have that job, and you have to apply for an extension for
Yes.
an
Two
additional
more
24
years.
months,
Yeah.
and that may get declined or not. But then after that, then you may end up going back to school. In his case, that way you can keep your status
Yes.
active,
Hmm.
or find a sponsor in terms of like your job can sponsor you for
Yes.
an
Jobs.
H-1B,
Yes.
or you can file self petition
Yes. Depending
for a green
on
card,
category you in.
depending on where you are.
Yeah.
And we hope to get to discuss these a lot
Oh
more in detail.
yes. Yes. We will.
And again, we also mentioned we're gonna bring in some guests like that can give us like
Hmm.
paint a picture of their path from
Hmm.
coming to the US to where
Hmm.
they're currently at that time.
Yes.
But basically, this is pretty much our introduction to this podcast space and sharing our realities and our journey as international student here in the US. Any closing statements or arguments or stories you
No, I
want to share
just
with
want
them?
to thank you, man. Actually, because it's we talked about this for a long time. There was time where it felt like it wasn't going to happen due to the
Hmm.
schedule. You
Yeah,
work same thing, so sometimes the schedule will always conflict. But I think it's something that was very needed
yeah.
because
He
as
came
we
up with the idea,
travel,
by the way. He came up with the idea, and I was like, hell yeah, let's
that
go, let's do it.
it was during well, I knew we were gonna do a podcast. I wasn't sure what it was gonna be about because we have so much information that we need to share.
Yeah.
And as you grow, as you get older, you realize that you need to start giving all this because when we travel, when we meet people, we realize that we all experience similar, we all in a similar situation. We're
Hmm.
all experiencing the same struggle, and when you
Yeah.
can help anybody, man, whenever you're able to give that
Yeah.
information, like I say, information is key. That always helps us.
Free game.
Free, yes. And like I said, we went to where it became a reality, where it became like, hey, it needs to happen, is when we went to Rwanda Day. and
Oh, yeah.
they had a speech. This this guy, I can't remember his name, but he said, "A young adult. We are young adults, but once you pass 31, you no longer a young adult. You that young falls off. You
You're an
are
adult.
completely an adult, and that hits you. It's like, man, I'm here now. I'm getting, I mean, not here. I'm not there yet, but it's coming, and you're like, oh my god, we need to start doing things the way we need to start acting our age, pretty much.
Okay.
We need to start.
True.
I know, because sometimes things happen and you're like, oh my god, I have to make this decision. Oh, okay, I'm the
Yeah,
one
man.
paying bills. Like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, but it's still not. I don't know. You're still not in acceptance of it.
Yeah.
It still feels like I'm going with the flow, but at one point you have to say, I'm the adult in the room, and I need to act like it. I need to be,
Yeah.
accordingly. I need to do this. And that's when I was like, man, we need to start
Let's do
this,
some.
because we're considering going home now very soon. Especially now, once I finish my master's, I need to start seeing, hey, how can I go back and help my country? Because that was some of the things that I said in the interview process. And I'm not a liar.
Yeah,
I'm a man of my word. Well, it's
You're not a
taking
liar.
longer.
Let's just say you stretch the truth
Yes. Well, it's taking longer than expected because
to
of
realize
these
the dream. Yeah,
realities.
yeah.
But I'm still considering going home. I'm
Always.
still
Yeah.
considering going to
Investing
help my
back home,
country.
giving back.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I thought I was gonna build, help my country build. And I'm like buildings, because I was gonna be a civil engineer. But I'm still gonna do it. I'm still gonna help my country build, but I'm gonna do it in the technology aspect now, because
Fair
that's
enough.
what I'm doing.
Well,
And yeah, we'll talk about it all. And it was very needed. It was
yeah.
something that we had to do. So that's why we are doing it. And I really hope people get to enjoy this. They find it more useful. They
Mhm.
find information they're looking for. You're not alone, by the way, because we all went through this, especially if you're just starting a journey or you're here right now and going through all these things. Feel free to DM us. Feel free to comment on this video. Feel free to just email us,
Share with your friends.
share with your friends. That way everybody gets to feel like, hey, we are a community, and we need to start sharing this information. We need to start just being able to bring a conversation on the table. That way people realize that, hey, it's not the life that everybody romanticize about. It's not about you in America, boom, straight. Oh, you
You got money.
outside, you got money, because that's not the reality of it. Only if
Yeah.
you knew, and that's what we hoping to achieve.
Yeah.
And that's why we
Yeah.
started.
Like you said, hoping to advance this kind of conversation, help folks who may not have the same information and
Or access to information.
access to that information. And we're gonna talk about different things, because in the coming episodes we're gonna talk about, like, okay, how what was your life like? What was some of the culture shocks?
Yeah.
And some ways to help
Dive
cope.
deeper into the work permits.
Some ways to help cope with some of the mental health.
Oh
like how
my God! Don't even.
So
mention
please
that.
stay tuned. We have more in the tank for you guys.
Yes.
Thank you for watching, and see you next time.
Thank you.